All right, ladies and gents, welcome. This is the second round for LaaaaaN and for Barles in TTL Platinum. And for LaaaaaN, again, he was a player who was initially actually not promoted up to Platinum. He was the most successful player in Gold who had not gotten promoted. He had 11 wins, which fell into second place, actually. Then he went to the playoff and lost to Margugu. But what worked out for LaaaaaN was... Backed, he re-retired. And because Backed re-retired, we then had to get the next best performing player in Gold, which was LaaaaaN. So technically speaking, promoted though anyways. And when he came in against freaking Andy, another promoted player from Gold in the first round, he got 3-0'd. So LaaaaaN needs wins. I think just one win today, there's not as many relegation fears. But truthfully, Barles is just as hungry. Barles had an incredible series against Ganji, and Barles only got one win there. So these are two players who definitely need some wins on the board here in TTL. All these groups are cutthroat. All these groups are ridiculous. There's not a single group you can look at and say, oh, that's an easy one, right? So fun series. It should be a fun series here. We've got Japanese for Barles, and he's gone for the early dock, and we also had LaaaaaN with an early dock with the Persians. Similar starting bonuses here. Persians get the plus 50 wood and plus 50 food at the start. It's kind of fun too, because the plus 50 food actually means you can have one villager less on food, which then leads to even more wood. So anyways, starts really clean. And then the Japanese have the cheaper lumber camps, mining camps, and mills, which leads to lots of flexibility. And I also think, I don't think the Persians are bad against the Japanese. I do feel like the Japanese can produce some problems for the Persians. They get into a lot of infantry Japanese. I think then the Persians, I guess Persians would have to go hand cannons, which is good they have. But then Persians are switching away from some of their stable units, which is normally what the Persians want to be working with. But thus far, my big question between these two is, are they going to compete for water? Or are they going to go for land? Daniel and Valis, players that are in another group, they played, it was Lithuanians versus Japanese the other day. And it's one of the best games we've seen. I uploaded it to the main YouTube channel called The Coast versus the Mountain, because this map is called Coast to Mountain. So it was kind of cool how that game set up. But players didn't really prioritize water near as much as we've seen from others. So I'd say the meta right now, what most people are showing is they love to go for fast feudal into double docks here. And I'm kind of thinking Barles could do that, and LaaaaaN could do that as well. But I think as LaaaaaN loses a villager here in the first game, that is so... Oh, God, he almost lost another one. But yeah, signs of rust there from LaaaaaN as he loses a villager. Let's say goodbye to any advantage he had. But I think when we're at week 5 in group stage, or when we're talking about, players who you think are going to be first, right? Maybe Viper, maybe Tato, maybe Hera, maybe Yo, maybe Doubt. I don't think we'll see these water builds as frequently. That's just my prediction. But right now, it looks like Barles is going to be thinking about the water. He's sending 2 villagers over to gold. He's going for a lot on wood. It feels like he's up so quick that a barracks wouldn't work for Man-at-Arms, because the barracks, he doesn't even have the wood for it yet. So yeah, I think this villager will likely be pulled to the side and make a second dock here. Scouting here from Barles, looking to find what LaaaAAN's up to. LaaaAAN also up quick. Again, I think he'll probably send villagers to gold, and then this villager will go out and build a second dock. Jinska, welcome. Rafa says I misbacked. Yeah, I misbacked as well. It's disappointing. It's a bit bittersweet, right? I think he was happy with his career. And, oh, there's the barracks from Barles. Okay, Barles is not going to commit solely to water. But he won't be able to achieve Man-at-Arms with this. Because the barracks is... he could still technically, but very rarely are you going to see the timing make sense to get to feudal age, make the militia, and then move from there. Anyways, double dock here from LaaaAAN. It looks like the rec we have for this game is LaaaAAN's rec, because we've got the Spanish text. That It doesn't spoil who won the games. Don't worry. These games were played a bit earlier. It actually helped because the Jordan Ganji series was postponed really last minute. So it could have kind of ruined our schedule today if we didn't have a third set. So these guys able to schedule one last minute, as one was removed from the schedule last minute, worked out for us. And all right, we've now got Barles making a stable. Okay, so look at LaaaAN's point of view. LaaaAN's going water, right? But where's this camel right now? He's scouting his own base. So he's not looking to see what his opponents are doing. He actually hasn't looked to see if there's even a second dock here. So I feel like LaaaAN he's assuming some things are going to happen. And he could easily be surprised because right now he's looking to wall up. And he is not expecting that there's going to be scouts coming out across the map. I feel like at this level, you should know, is your opponent going for the second dock? If they're not going for the second dock, they should be investing into some type of army. And LaaaAN could be caught out. Scout, though, still hasn't found any kills. Meanwhile, though, the fishing ships for Barles still kind of holding on. Barles is just trying to get enough fires out to kill LaaaAN's fish, and it seems like he's happy enough to just lose his own. Guys, this is just, it just bothers me. It bothers me to my core. Why are we not scouting? Is he going to get away with it? He must know now. Like, I think right now he's recognizing my opponent is just on one dock. I think that feeling will probably happen because he's got so many more ships than his opponent. Where are those scouts going? Oh, the scout's so late. Had one scout gone out, it could have been led to a villager kill. And I think LaaaAN might know now. Yeah, LaaaAN definitely saw something there because he's going for backup walls here. Meanwhile, he's struggling to bring in a rhino at the same time. The scout's presence are going to lead to another villager dying to a rhino. That is the second villager that LaaaAN has lost to a rhino in this game. And it was just the presence of the scouts because he noticed it. Behind this, he'll still have some fishing ships for now. He should have the fishing ships for the long run. But the scouts are still going to be able to find value. And again, it's like, the water gives you fish, but look at how much work you have to do if anyone adds any military. This is brutal for LaaaAN. Barles hasn't done anything incredibly fancy. In my opinion, it was good from LaaaAN to recognize that these walls would never go down and that this wall could. But still, he's got work to do here. I mean, that gate, I don't know exactly where he's going. That gate still has not been built. So it's got less armor. Hello? This is rough. Oh, it's going to be so disappointing if these scouts get in. Come on, LaaaAN. You've got fish. And now the scouts are in. Oh, my God. Guys, I'm not fully understanding, honestly. Like, just clearly rust, right? Clearly, you know, come in here. Maybe had a lack of sleep. Maybe didn't have coffee yet or something. But this is the Platinum League, right? We're expecting certain levels to be brought into these games. That Barles is just living the dream right now. Behind all of this, hold on. Did the scouts like teleport there? Hold on. Oh, it like twirled. Wait. You see that? I swear. Whoa, 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 whoa. What is that? Devs, what is this? Watch this. Slow-mo it. Watch the scout. Huh? What was that? How did that happen? Anyways. As the game continues, LaaaAN damage controls a little bit. And, I mean, he's okay. But, I mean, the efficiency of everything else is just going to be a mess from here. Behind this, Barles dropping a mill on the hunt. The Barles will probably drop a mill on this hunt as well. And Barles is basically fallen into a position where LaaaAN is in recovery mode. And LaaaAN's going to have to try and stabilize to get himself out of his position. He can't conveniently take hunt anywhere until he has spearmen. And even here, I mean, if he continues, he might go for this rhino. But yeah, having lost 2 villagers to rhinos, and then also having lost eco to the scouts, this has not been great. And oh god, it could be a third to the rhino. And Barles noticed it, because he's been active on the map. And Barles even brought his camel scout in here. But okay, so let's forget the rhinos happened. All right? Let's talk about this. This camel scout was scouting this area of the map. It never scouted the shoreline to determine his opponent's strat, and he never looked here. In my opinion, this is a player who just saw what everyone else was doing when they were going water, and just said, oh, that's what I do? Okay. And just thought his opponent would do the same. It's especially dangerous to do that when, oh God, like this is real brutal. It's especially dangerous to do that in this situation, right? Because I felt as though the meta that players were going for in gold was actually a little bit off from what I think could be successful. So Gaia's killed a lot in this game. We've got an archer now for Barles, and I think for LaaaaaN, it's going to be tricky from here on out. Barles has full control in this game. In terms of res collected, he's probably going to be ahead. We'll just check that quickly. Res collected, Barles is ahead. And it's much easier for him to balance his eco because he has full map control here. And a couple archers obviously could put an end to the spearmen too. So Barles is still sticking around. Barles looking great. LaaaaaN's struggling. And at least this food eco is possible right now for LaaaaaN. He needs to get Castle Age. Currently doing a bit of damage control here. Still hasn't clicked up the Castle Age. Barles now just 50 seconds away. And wall up from Barles in case there's ever a counterattack. Eco balance is looking really nice for him. And as a player, you obviously want more villager kills. But when you see 5 villagers making all these buildings, you recognize that that is control for you. And that it's quite awkward for LaaaaaN economically just due to that. This game should be finished off by Barles in the next stage. It should be. And that's kind of how you have to look at it from here, even if you're LaaaaaN. You know, you lose the first game horribly. Maybe all your mistakes got out of the way in the first one. You know, maybe that's how you can look at it. And then in game number 2, game number 3, you respond. It's not out of the question that you could possibly, you know, respond in this game. But, I mean, even look at this from Barles. Still being a presence on water. He's going to add a Cav Archer. He's going to add a Knight. He is Bodcanero now, so the archers will have more attack. And LaaaaaN's still about 70 seconds away from hitting the next stage here. LaaaaaN looking like a player who came up to Platinum and is going to struggle to stay here. I hate the fact that I have had to come out and be so negative against some of the plays from some of our promoted players so far today, but it's not been good, man. It has not been good. As he is damage controlling fine, and you know, if he makes a couple knights here in a moment, he might be able to still stabilize in this game. It is not over yet. He still had fishing ships, and he still has Persian knights. Persian knights could be really strong. I lost another villager there. Over here on the coast, we've got a second TC from Barles. So, turning a lot of his eco into more and more villagers. Does need a few more farms, it seems. He doesn't actually have that much on food right now because he's done with hunt. So he's going to work on transitioning there. Oh, God. 2 more villagers died over here. Nice find there from Barles. Actually, 4 villagers were killed with that. Oh, 3. Maybe he killed a spearman or something else. Amazing awareness from Barles. I didn't even notice that. There's also tons of weak villagers in here, too, if Barles were to see them. It looks like he noticed one in the final moments there. Res collected is actually closer than you would expect, considering all the damage done. And maybe there's a world where LaaaaaN can stabilize. I think if he could pull these knights over here, with this knight, you could actually trap this whole army. You cannot let this army in, though. Like, if you need to build more house walls, you build more house walls, but you cannot let this army in. And these knights have to do damage here. He doesn't have armor, but nice save from LaaaaaN. He pulls the weak knight away. That was very well executed. And I guess Barles is going to try and just leave, and he can't due to the knight's blocking. And yes, nice cleanup. Guys, if I were to have been Barles' shoes here, okay, and let's say he somehow throws this game. If I would throw this game after the damage I've done from Barles, I would lose this game. I would be on another moon in terms of levels of tilt. On another moon, as if I'm on a moon. That statement doesn't even make sense. But you know what I mean, right? Like, Barles did more damage than he could have ever expected coming into this. Now he just has to stabilize and let his economy difference take hold. I didn't transition into the farms that smoothly. I will say that. But he knows knights are on the way. And he's got the monks prepared, and now suddenly all these knights for LaaaN. Unable to really find some damage. Great job from LaaaN with his farms. He lost villagers to rhinos and to knights, but he still did take some of that food. And Persian TCs do work faster. So he's dropping the second, he's dropping the third. This is actually going to be very good for LaaaN's mentality to play this later. As opposed to just dying right away. The fact that you can, take this later stages, it could be really good for you. And, maybe he didn't get a warm-up game in or something. This just helps him warm up. Get more of a feel for tourney Age of Empires, which is a very different feel than a ranked game anyways. I don't think Barles should have gone forward Monastery. I like the suggestion, but at the end of the day, this map tends to go late game after a big economic boom. So I think the investment that Barles went for was perfect. And now at this stage, he's waiting at home for the knights to show up. Still doesn't see them. But even stonewalled in some areas here, he should be completely fine. I killed a monk there. Now checking the shoreline. Is there anything over here? We'll end up seeing the villager as well. Barles is hitting all the positions he needs to. I wonder if he's paranoid that the knights could go through that relic. That relic's actually part of the wall. And cav archers are there to deal with that. So yeah, 3 TCs for LaaaN. 53 eco versus 68. Barles obviously with the lead there. I love cav archers against Persians, man. The Persians, they don't have the best of ranged units to counter that. I also love Japanese cav archers specifically on this map too, because you've got large distances between the player base, which means you generally want to be a bit faster. And Japanese cav archers get full upgrades. So you use that stronger economy to slowly mass those cav archers. And it feels like the timings for Barles is just so clean here, because even ballistics is going to come in. Now he'll see this. He won't get the villager kill, so there's no way he breaks through there. LaaaN needs to have something more than just knights, and he's got the scorpions. So both players will be hoping to leave their walls in the mountain region. These starting huts go down really fast. But yeah, both players will be looking to leave this area soon, and this area for more TCs possibly. Love the fact that Town Watch is in for Barles. He reacts right away, sees the knights. LaaaN's probably like, what can I do with my freaking knights right now, man? Anywhere I go, there's cav archers, or there's monks. And yeah, honestly, I don't have an answer for you if you're LaaaN. I think he's trying to get counterattacks, which is good because he's behind. But Barles is not going to break here. I wonder if this knight will eventually just patrol on these golds, because sometimes you'll see players move out over there. You do kind of need an answer to the scorpions right now, if you are LaaaN. That could be a concern, and maybe you could think knights, but then LaaaN does have monks as well. Persian monks aren't all that strong, but still. Ooh, big opportunity for the scorpions. And Barles is scared of those. Didn't even stop to shoot that villager. The eco KD's ridiculous right now, by the way. I don't know if I've ever seen an eco KD like this. Like, if you were to show up right now, you'd be like, huh? The fact that Barles' kills and LaaaN's death is off by 3 is really trippy right now. LaaaN is caught up economically. That's a lot of scorpions. There's also Lightcav from LaaaN. LaaaN could come back here. Lightcav could snipe all those monks. At least these 2 monks are going to go down. All right, and then the cav archers go over to take the Lightcav, but now there's scorpions. And look at the scorpions, guys. Really weakening those cav archers. I love this for LaaaN at the moment. What a great recovery. So we saw worrying signs for him at the start. Lightcav, a little bit of mobility. It's easy for Barles to get pulled out of position with his monks here as well. LaaaN, oh, he was so close. He's so close to killing all 3 of those monks, because Barles came home and Barles is trying to stop the Lightcav. And there you go. Those monks are going to die as well. This is sick. Monk edition obviously was fantastic, but great maneuverability here from LaaaN. And this is the problem with the cav archers, is they kind of all have to be clumped up in one spot. And units from the stable you can split up into different positions like that. Still, though, I mean, Barles does have a solid line of defense. He will probably complete his castle. He is on the way to the Imperial Age. And this Cav Archer mass hasn't been dealt with yet. You haven't actually found damage on these Cav Archers. So what you need to start breaking through here. You need to threaten to a point where Barles may have to engage. You kill 15 Cav Archers before Imp, and then suddenly you've got a lot more potential here if you're LaaaN. LaaaN also imping. Heavy Scorpion is probably not something we'll see. I almost want to see it, though, because they did make Heavy Scorpion cheaper a couple patches ago. I still think you're hoping that the Scorpions get value in Castle. LaaaN is a player who's kind of old school. There's no way he'll ever get Heavy Scorpion. I think he just wants to go like Paladin and hope for the best. Oh, God. Anyways, Knight's going down. Monk's going down. Ostrich going down. Okay. Wasn't expecting those words to come out of my mouth. Also wasn't expecting to hear Rhino kill the villager 3 separate times. So it's been one of those games. Scorpion's kind of out on their own. And they're clumped. And one goes down. Okay, good Scorpion micro from LaaaN. In the end, he's getting engagements against Cav Archers with the Scorpions, which is what he wanted. I think Barles would be a little disappointed with this micro from him, because there's a lot of red bodies there. In the end, he will clear up the force, though. And he's going for Cav Archers. And someone says, why Japanese Cav Archers? Well, you're very far apart from each other, so you want mobility, and you get full upgrades. And you have good economy. And Barles making a statement, though, that shows us it won't just be Cav Archers. If he thinks his opponent will be on Knights, he's going to add the barracks. Now, he actually encounters the ranges here. So, LaaaN is thinking about going for skirmishers. That's a weak point for Persians, though, is the skirmishers. I think the Knight that was over here before got deleted or something. I think that, yeah. I think Barles definitely sensed there was something going on here. What great awareness from him. And he's going to castle this hill. And he's going to find all these villager kills. Yeah, Barles is benefiting from that economic lead he had earlier. He had so much momentum to work with, which gave him the time to mass the Cav Archers. His micro has been fantastic here. He's getting heavy Cav Archer. He's killed 16 eco. LaaaN has lost 19. And LaaaN, he's doing everything he can from here. You try and go skirm against Cav Archers. You have to give it a shot. But I personally, I wouldn't even be scared of those skirmishers. Yeah, they do get the final armor, which is a big thing with skirms. But how are you going to win the game when you need to expand and use some level of mobility on Coast to Mountain here with just skirms? I think how you would win, your next, probably your only chance now if you're LaaaN, is you get that ball of skirms with upgrades and maybe some cav with it. And you build forward with trebs and maybe bombard cannons, and you push this hill. You got to push there. Feels like he's a couple steps behind, though, and that Barles is going to be able to contribute with other things, but it doesn't. Barles is outposting here, too, so he knows there's no threat of anything, and he knows that LaaaN is just sitting back. So he's like, okay, LaaaN sits back, we castle here. I think the next castle could maybe come here. Really strong opening here from Barles. T9, do you think it's feasible for Titans League 4 to incorporate Budapest into the maps? Maybe. Double TC start would be interesting. I don't hate the idea, but my mind is pretty far away from Titans League 4 map pool. What we will do, just like we've done with every season of Titans League, is keep 5 or 6 of the maps, and then rotate in 5 or 6 more. With the goal being to never have the same map feature more than 2 times in a row. So, you know, any map that has been featured 2 times in a row already coming into this season. I'm trying to think. There must be some. Anyways, you know, we will then have to remove those. And if there's any question right now on why Barles is getting all these techs and LaaaN isn't, LaaaN hasn't had as good of eco. I know it says he has 140 eco right now, but he hasn't collected near as many resources. So it's possible for Barles to really go for everything. He's going for your Sama. He's gone for Guard Tower. And we've got blacksmith upgrades flying in from 2 separate blacksmiths, it looks like. And he's not going to trickle treb. He's got Halb and Cav Archer, and this is incredibly tough to stop. especially with Persians. With micro here from LaaaaaN. Has to be careful, though. The Cavalier might dive to kill the Mangoes, but you're just killing units that I don't think Barles really cares about all that much. TCs, Monastery, buildings will start to go down. Barles with full map control. Doesn't have a castle here yet. Maybe some towers could go up there where the extra gold is. We've got Kataparuto now. Both Japanese unique techs. Holy, let's go. And the skirms is pretty much all LaaaaaN has. On paper, yeah, skirm is good against Halp and Cav Archer. But when you lack that attack, you're not going to kill these Halps. And even I think if you had Bracer, you're still backing up. And that's a big issue right now. The fact that Barles is fortifying all these positions. This went to Imp, which I think is a positive for LaaaaaN, though. Right? This obviously looks horrible right now. LaaaaaN could have resigned after losing his third villager and after the scouts got in. The fact that he got here gives me hope for him in this series. And obviously, he'll have a home map ready. Paladin! Paladin with 1 cav. Where is it? There you go, buddy. Just wait 2 minutes. You'll be good to go. I mean, he's trying, right? Skirm Paladin would probably be his best comp. Paladin takes a lot of time. So he's ideally going to use this time to make the cav. But yeah, this is looking pretty rough. These halves attack so fast. This composition is just so brutal. It's so complete. This truly has everything that you would want as the Japanese. And LaaaaaN playing on a little bit more, but I'm sure he'll call the GG here soon. And Barles will take the first victory in the series. But, you know, to repeat myself again, I do not think you could ever expect Barles to lose this game after how far ahead he got in the early game. LaaaaaN didn't do himself any favors with the Camel Scout. You have a scout. He didn't scout to see if it was double dock. If he didn't see it was double... Like, for example, if he just scouted the shoreline, he would then know, oh, he must be going land, and thus could have made better decisions and prepped on land. So, it's a double whammy. Not scouting land, not scouting water. He was just simply scouting this area, which didn't do much for him later on. And I think that's... While it is a newer map and a map that a lot of players don't play, I feel like that is kind of a rookie mistake. You've got to at least know instead of assume what your opponent's going to go for. And for what it's worth, I think even if LaaaaaN knew, even if LaaaaaN was like, oh, okay, he's going to go land and he prepped a little bit better, I think having that scout presence and having that map control so you can take that hunt with the Japanese is still really strong. And I thought Barles played really well off of it. So well played. Barles, that's just his second win so far in TTL. Because he did lose 2-1 in his first round. So he's going to be looking to stack up more victories here. But a complete game with the Japanese. 57,000 resources collected. That's why people get excited about Barles. That was perfectly balanced there. All right. So, you know, this is not the first time we've seen this matchup in the early rounds of Platinum, is it? I think the other one the other day was Sobek, who had gone for Franks on Land Madness. Very strong map for scouts and very strong map for the Franks. And it was Byzantines from Vivi in that game. And Vivi was just like, hey, listen, I know you're going to go for Cav. This is a strong Cav map. So I'm going to go for Byzantines, who has the cheap spearmen and has the cheap camels. So this was a later pick in Barles' draft. The other pick that LaaaaaN could have gone for, I'm pretty sure he had Lithuanians. Can I just pan over to that real quick? Lithuanians and Franks. Interesting to me that he didn't prefer to go for the Lithuanians here. That could tell me that maybe that Lithuanians is planned for game number 3, which will be played regardless here. And Wood Lion's pretty small on this map. It's hard to play defensive, so there is still some weaknesses to Byzantines. That's something you do have to remind yourself of. Wood Lions are actually smaller than Land Madness. Land Madness makes it more difficult to full wall, though. But LaaaaaN is a player who wants to play to his strengths. He wants to open strong. He wants to go with scouts. And I think that's what he'll do here regardless. I think for Barles, you kind of expect the scouts. You will fall back on having cheap spearmen. There is a world where you do want to go for a stable yourself here for scouts. You don't have any bonuses for it. You don't have the farm bonus. You don't have the forage bonus. So it doesn't feel as smooth with a scout build with Byzantines. So what most players do is... Barles is going to push deer from over here. What most players tend to do, guys, is they open range. Because they just play purely on the counters. So if your opponent is going scouts, you make the spears. And then if they end up switching into archers, you have the skirms. And you're producing out of your barracks and your archer range, whereas the scout player is normally just producing out of the stable. So eventually the army count will be like almost double for Barles. And while land technically has more potential to do damage and get kills, and also has more potential economically with the farms and stuff behind it, the idea is Byzantines can just make so many units. Who cares if their eco's worse? They're still going to hang around there for a while. And I think if this is even in Castle Age, there's not as many things to get excited about for Franks in the long run as compared to the Lithuanians, where at least the Lithuanians could get relics and get like the extra attack on their cav, which could help against the camels or help against the pikes. So it definitely feels like a decision. If Land doesn't play Lithuanians in the final game and he ends up losing here on graveyards, I think we have to question that. But again, I'm such a speculator, man. I like to think about it. It's important though, like the draft and where you play your civilizations and how you play your civs is so important to our game, which is why I love to talk about it and why I do it. But yeah, I would say as a final thought on that, I'm pretty sure Land will try Lithuanians on game 3. I think it could make sense on Fractal, which is Barles' home map. T90s, thanks for answering the question about and the community for explaining it. Glad it's not toxic and mean when people ask questions. No, all good. I think the tricky thing for me when it comes to answering questions as a streamer is like people come in and out all the time. And people skip through videos all the time, right? So I think what becomes complicated with my job is, let's say you show up, you ask that question, why Japanese cav archers? And I've already answered it like 4 times within that given cast. That is an area that I always try to improve. I'm currently trying to improve on is like the repetition aspect. It's very tricky, right? Because I feel like, well, I've already addressed this. And then if someone like you presented your question very kindly and very innocently, right? But like, if it's like a low effort question that has a bit of, I don't even know, like, you know, it's just not worded quite in the way that you worded it. And it's the 3rd or 4th time that type of question has been asked. That's where it can be easier for me to be like, we already talked about it, you know? So I do my best with that. I'm not perfect. But I hope in the moments where I'm not perfect that people at least understand that. T90, why Japanese cav archers? Okay, mods, ban him. I'm kidding. Yeah, like the thing, actually, I will say this. Something that I've realized I get especially annoyed with is the Hussite wagon thing with the Bohemians, because I have so many videos and I've talked about why I think the Hussite wagon is actually really good, even though it's situational. But then there are others out there who have said the Hussite wagon's bad, blah, 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 right? Which obviously goes against my opinion. But so then, like, I'm showing examples of the wagon being good. I've had the opinion this wagon is good, while other people have incorrectly, in my opinion, stated the wagon's not good, right? I do all this work. I'm like, this is so cool. Like, I hope you guys appreciate this, blah, blah, blah. And then someone shows up and they're like, since when are the wagons good? And I'm like, rah! I was like, I spent all this time talking about it. My whole life has existed to tell you about this wagon. You know, that's not actually how I react, but again, it comes back to you guys you're doing stuff. You know, you don't see or hear everything I say, so it's just a tricky challenge, you know? All right, so land walling up, going scouts. Really intelligent walls from him, actually. I like that. Hard to get the walls down. We are currently looking into tweaks to graveyards because some players' TCs are closer to the edge than others. I don't know if we pushed that change, but you can see how Barles is kind of out in the open. And it's harder for him to envision a wall to the edge of the map. The edge of the map is one of the best places to wall to. You can't chop through the edge of the map. So map has definitely benefited land in some ways here. Barles going scouts. will be hard for him to find any real damage. LaaaN, he can then freely move forward, and even if he doesn't kill anything, he's not going to take much damage back at home. But I think it's up to the player to recognize this, and I think a player like Barles is not going to be too stubborn just attacking walls. And Barles should realize now I have my Spearmen and Scouts defensive, and we take this to Castle Age. The one that really made us look at it was the script with Vivi and LaaaN. Wait, was it Vivi LaaaN? No, Vivi Sobek. Where Vivi basically took a gamble on an open map, and he went for nice click walls here from Barles. A nice micro there from LaaaN to end up killing that. Oh god, LaaaN also gets big hits there on the Scouts. But yeah, Vivi's like, let's go Burgundians and hope I get a closed map. And somehow did. I feel like even this generation is a little bit rare. But yeah, if we feel like tweaks need to be made, we definitely take a look at it. It's tricky with random map scripts, obviously. And in our meta these days, when you have an open map, players are always finding advantages to make it a closed map. And so, you know, like LaaaN's Madness we tweaked, for example, because of that. Now, one game between Nikov and Winchester really opened my eyes. So early market from Barles. I think market tells me he will probably sell his stone here. Maybe a little concerned because his opponent has Horse Collar and the Forge bonus that Castle Age could be faster for LaaaN, where LaaaN could start to get a snowball. Barles does like to use the market. He, you know, that's like kind of a new meta thing. Even if he keeps his stone here, he's going to feel more comfortable having it to adjust. LaaaN is definitely old style player. Let's just macro our way comfortably to the next stage. Nice mining camp here on the stone and the gold. Can you imagine if you're Lithuanians, though? Like, you get a relic for free, plus 1 attack on your knights. It still feels very weird to me to draft Lithuanians and not pick them here. And there goes Barles on the way up. Does use the market a little bit. And ultimately, I think the fact that he still has 100 stone is fine because he'll want that second TC. And from there, he can think about the third later on. Is adding a 4th Spearman now. Could soon overchop this woodline, which would be pretty bad for him. I think LaaaN has correctly recognized that is the weakest point now for Barles. I'd like to see Barles heal these Scouts up later on. I'd really like to keep these alive. I think they'll be valuable when there's 11 relics on the map. Could even see him scouting with one of those weak ones right now, the Find relics. But he actually has pretty decent scouting. You can see LaaaN's a bit more tunneled on the player and killing the player instead of the relics right now. Nikov invented over 120 Palisades. Yeah. And I mean, Nikov reached out to me. He's like, that's my issue with LaaaN Madness, he said, is sometimes it's just possible to wall, other times it's not. And he said I would have been a fool not to do it, you know? But yeah, now we made it so you can't wall to the edge. Had we made that change here on Graveyards, obviously it changes the whole game. But I think this map is still very solid. And again, the key here was that Barles didn't just make a ton of army attacking walls mindlessly while leaving himself exposed at home. This is a smart player, and he's dealt with it just fine. Has not been a real factor at all here for him. And he really needs another woodline, so these villagers are going to come over here and place a TC. I think Barles does see that LaaaN is over here. So now, you know, you can make camels, which counter the knights that you think that the Franks will eventually make. And you boom up towards late game to catch up in economy. And we do see the monastery for Barles to eventually get some relics. I do like this from LaaaN. LaaaN is adding more spears because he's expecting camels. And he's added more scouts to think about the light cav upgrade because he's expecting monks. All really smart plays from him. Also, I consider this to be a little risky. If there's 6 scouts out there, I guess he only knew there were 5, but I could see players, because typically you're getting at least armor right now for your scouts. I could definitely have seen LaaaN engaging here. But in the end, I guess you see it a mile away because you're Byzantines. TC goes up. And I think Barles is going to buy 100 stone and 100 wood. He just wants the next TC. It's going to happen. Just wait for it. Just wait for it. I know the man. It's going to happen. We'll see those scouts, hoping the camel can get some kills. Even getting husbandry, Barles, so the camels are fast. That's nice. And husbandry from LaaaaaN? LaaaaaN actually going husbandry and light calf. He has 2 stables then. And there's his second TC. Wait, did I miss it? Where'd the stone go? Wait, what? Oh, wait, he never had the stone. I'm stupid. I said he'd buy it. Okay, well, he's not quite in a position to drop that TC yet. He needs one, though. Investing into a lot of camels and a lot of monks. Those light calf roaming around. I love this from LaaaaaN. Like, we saw him recover a bit in the previous game because of his mobility. Look at how many units he has around. Even going for a second monastery, which I don't hate. Because it's not like Barles has that many scouts. Barles may even lose his scouts here. LaaaaaN would love to kill these scouts, but he doesn't want to lose his light cav to the camels. Light cav just chilling here on this relic. That's a relic that Barles never saw, funnily enough. I doubt he'll ever look there either. And then here come the spears. Barles has to run away. Barles gets caught out. Doesn't lose any units. But yeah, this is a really good game. Well played from both. We do not have the third town center yet, but it'll happen here for LaaaaaN, and I think both players will be pretty comfortable. Like, Barles will think, I'm not dead, I didn't take heavy losses, I'm getting relics. This is good. LaaaaaN will think, I haven't been completely snowballed, with camels yet. I've got lots of light cav. I'm able to get relics too. Like, there's positives from either side. I think where it now becomes interesting in this matchup is, how heavy does LaaaaaN go on to stone? A lot of players will wait till they have about 55, 60 villagers to start to transfer more villas to stone if they want a castle. The Barles was just camping the relic with the camel, and now is coming forward with more camels. And LaaaaaN needs to have his quick wall fingers ready. This TC could be denied. Oh, man. Barles, he's going to deny a TC with camels. And he's going to kill the monk. Oh, this is so bad. This is so bad for LaaaaaN. It just didn't track it, right? Like, it felt like kind of, the option was there. And that monk will probably get a conversion. Monks are going to stay alive against camels usually, but the spearmen out of position for LaaaaaN weren't here to protect the area. It moved out. And this should give Barles a pretty comfortable eco position from here. Not game over for LaaaaaN, but it's now Franks versus Biz. Your best unit's completely neutralized by the cheap camels. There's the third TC for Barles. I like it. It's on the wood line and it's on the gold. He's soon going to run out of gold. It feels like the timing is perfect. 3 relics for LaaaaaN, though. I think if LaaaaaN would have had 2 or 3 more monks there, that whole situation's actually fine, too. Because he could convert half that army. Oh my god! Wait, what? How did he see that? Huh? Okay, so you can hide behind the ruins. Today I learned. Like, you just cannot see that monk whatsoever, except for maybe the shadow. When did he go there? Did Barles even remember it was there? What? Sorry, we need to investigate this. I think Barles forgot his monk was there. I don't think he had any clue. When did the monk go there? Okay, so it must have been recent. Okay, so there's the monk. Wow, watch this. I think Barles forgot. Okay, so Barles is going for conversion, right? The units start to run away. The monk then loses sight of these units and stops, right? No. Oh my god, he clicked it there intentionally. He hid the monk. That's an actual strategy. He hid the monk. The monk was hiding, and then I'm going to assume that LaaaaaN had a mod which puts a little pointer on top of the monk, because I used that. So it might have actually shown a little red dot. But it could have been that or a patrol. Because the first light cap doesn't see it. The monk is in hiding. And then, we still have more action. The monk is still hiding there. Does he patrol here? Yeah, that looks like he maybe noticed it, but that's funny. Anyways, we continue on. I'm sorry to have to rewind for that, but that was really interesting. The hiding monk. And now pikeman upgrade for land. I mean, he's made all these spears. He really needs to try and accomplish a little bit more with them. Good work there from land, though. The leftover light calf kills a monk going for the relic. It is 3-3 right now with relics collected. This light calf's still on patrol, waiting. There's still a relic down here. There's still then 2 relics in the north. Barles with his scout is going to find those monks, but will not get the kill. And Frank Eco, man, it's really smooth. Land lost those villagers and had his 3rd town center delayed, but he's still in a fine position here. It does feel to me, though, like he's unsure on if he should push with the pikes or not. I think the presence of the monks will make pushing with the pikemen a problem, because if half your pikes get converted, it doesn't feel like pushing with 7 is really the number. But, I mean, you could just convert them back. You don't know how many camels will die in the process. It's kind of... It's interesting to think about. I love the 4th town center. I think both players should consider doing it. They're very far apart from each other. This will likely go imp. Adding as much eco as possible will be important here. And I also like the fact that both players are getting forging. Though, at least right now, we're not going to see the engagement with forging in for land. He's fighting right before forging. Forging's now in for him. Byzantine heal. Like, it feels like Byzantines have so many bonuses. Some people think too many bonuses, by the way. Some people think that maybe there should be a nerf. These freaking Byzantines, man. University for Barles. It's cheap for imp as well. You've got a healing bonus. You've got the vision bonus. You've got the cheap camels. You've got the cheap spears. You've got the cheap skirms. You've got, like, the best fires in the game. You've got the defensive bonus. Bonus, bonus, bonus. B is not for Byzantines. It's for bonus. Well played here, Barles. Oh, and Barles, I guess. The scout goes just passing there. And Barles, 4 relics. Land, 4 relics. How do you break the Byzantines? Can you break the Byzantines with Franks? Is it just a bad matchup for the Franks? Should it have been expected by LaaaaaN with the late pick from Barles of the Byzantines that maybe it would be Byzantines here? If they nerf Byzantines, I'm burning the game to the ground. Yeah, okay. Interesting. The devs basically tell me to put feelers out there to see people's reactions. You know what I thought was entirely out of place and felt forced to me balance-wise is how they made the Frank castles more expensive. Why? After all this time, do it now when there's so many civs that are better than Franks. It made no sense. I voiced that to them, but it's weird to me. A light cat from land. They still like, does he know about this relic? It's so funny. If Barles knew about this relic, Barles would obviously have come over here and probably would have lost a monk. But Barles doesn't know about it. He still doesn't see it. Here comes Barles. Barles looking for a castle in the middle of the map, maybe, as he's also switching into his own pikes right now. Wow, converts the light calf, kills the next light calf. Looking around. Paladin and Axeman is still strong if he can get there. I find the lack of mobility a bit of an issue, but yeah. I mean, I think Paladin Hal would maybe be better. I don't know. There's no world where I would be going calf here, though. I think what you do is you build defensive castles, you go Halb and defend yourself. You hope to get lots of map control and extra golds and stones. You hope to gain some footholds and then, like, surprise them with Paladin. But right now, there's pikes and camels. Going knights at all seems extremely risky. Nice defense there from LaaaaaN as he drops a castle. Good kills. Also loses some light cap, but he won't be too worried about that. Frank castles became more expensive. Why? They tiered it, so castles are like... I forget the discount. But they tiered it so it's more expensive in Castle Age than it is in Imp. But it's like 550 stone now. As Barles is just poking away with these pointy boys. Lots of pointy boys on both sides. This will prompt Axeman to come out of the castles. Barles immediately clicks Chemistry first thing in Imp, though. And Barles has a nice little eco lead. He's got 20 more units on the field. He also has Halb. LaaaaaN isn't even an imp. And Barles has his first Treb out already. I think it's really tough to get any damage done right now if you're LaaaaaN. And bonus-wise, I'm struggling to see what can work here. Like, yeah, you could make Axemen against the Halbs, but there's always enough monks there to convert the Axemen, and Axemen are very low range. And then the, like, hand cannons could be an option against... I mean, it's just Byzantines have everything, right? Barles played this towards late game. I don't know where that one guy said who said map win for LaaaaaN at the start. But Barles is like, this goes late game. I'll pick Biz, one of the best late game civs. If he's Franks, I can do no wrong against the Franks later on. LaaaAAN's not had a bad game. He hasn't had a better game than Barles. And certainly here, Barles is feeling really good about his position. He's got all the momentum after using the earlier Imperial Age. And I think LaaaAAN is just going to be struggling from here. He's got random Halbs in the back he's got to deal with. He does have units here, though. He did notice that, you know, Barles is in this location with the outposting. I like the thought process there. That's interesting, Emperor in a bucket. So you're telling me when there's patches, they don't change the other languages? At first I've ever heard that. Anyways, camels and Halbs finding kills. LaaaaaN doesn't notice this because he's distracted right now. And he's just hoping his Trebs will hit the shots. Barles' bombard cannon hitting the shots. Barles' Halbs hitting the shots. Barles playing perfect. Barles almost 200 pop. All the relics for LaaaAAN are right in these monasteries too. So once the castle's down, the bombard cannon goes down. But once the castle's down, the monasteries will go down as well. And the Axemen can work, but you need the castles and you need the time. And this is all thought out by Barles. He didn't go for a defensive castle. He went for the forward castle to force the issue. If you make that castle at home, which so many players would feel tempted to do, this never happens. Or at least not as quickly. Giving LaaaAAN more opportunities. LaaaAAN's now going to go hand cannons as a counter to all the pointy boys that are out there. There's 60 of them. And, well, I mean, hand cannons, just like the Axemen, not bad. They're a little less vulnerable to any monk conversions, and that's going to be hard for Barles to do at this stage of the game, because there's other things going on. But it doesn't give you that map control right away. And I think Barles will have time. We'll see text flying in. Barles will have time to maybe stabilize and go for the next option. Interesting little raid here from LaaaAAN. These units did kill villagers before on a gold, so he kept moving with them. Barles reacts instantly. And there's the ranged unit text for Barles. And also redemption, so he can convert the bombard cannons he's seeing from LaaaAAN right now. This is amazing stuff from Barles. He's made it look so easy, but this is Byzantines. Look how much army he has. He's got 70 Halbs. Who cares if you have 10 hand cannons and 4 throwing axemen? It run underneath the castle. Who cares? And monk converts a bombard cannon. Monk converts another bombard cannon. And now, of course, this means these traps are still trapping down everything, because LaaaAAN really needs to deal with that siege somehow. And then right when maybe the Halb number starts to go down a little bit because the hand cannons are shredding, that's when you have skirmishers start to come out here on the front side, I would assume. Byzantines have... The only weakness of Byzantines is they don't have an eco bonus. But they can defend from civilizations who make army with eco bonuses. And then the best players play defensive Age of Empires well. They play that macro game. Look at Barles now. Another castle. He knows this is enough control here. He'll expand to this area, not forgetting about that. What more could LaaaAAN have done? I think using pikemen in the mid game for map control was more of an option for him. There's a long period where Barles didn't have that as well. So I think there was an opportunity there. But ultimately, you have to play really, 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 really well as the Franks against the Biz. So I think it also should come back to the draft. I think you are playing directly into the Byzantines' hands if you pick Franks. Now, he didn't know what Barles would go for. That's the thing. Like, this is Barles being really creative with the drafting. I'll show you kind of how that played out in the draft if you missed that. Because I think how it played out is perhaps... It's even more cool than even just seeing his performance here. Obviously, the gameplay is really the most exciting thing, but it's pretty cool to talk about. Barles going hand cannons and arbalest, and I mean, he's got tons of res. He's forced LaaaN to repair this castle for a very long time. These traps have been here forever, man. And meanwhile, thinking about pushing this area. And he knows there's a castle here. So he's prepping a castle here, and he's already got the trebs on the way to go treb that down. Like, LaaaN is just so many steps behind here. It's like you eventually clear this, maybe? And then Barles still has more relics than you, and you're just going to lose the other side of your base. Really complicated stuff. Though, honestly, here, LaaaN, what are you going to lose? 3 hand cannons? Like, go kill this. I think he's too far behind to be giving this that much respect. Treb's already prepared as the castle goes up. So now you can't really realistically dive here to try and deal with this because that castle's up in that position. What about full longswords? No, I think longswords are too slow. And then Barles just makes a couple more monks and makes a couple knights. Like, longsword, I think, would only be a play if your opponent was maybe full pikeman and didn't have a monastery. Or maybe like, I think Lightcav longsword could work if your opponent kind of fell behind a little bit. But yeah, LaaaN, I mean, he's behind, right? He needs a big fight. Maybe taking this control back could be part of it, but he's still a castle there for Barles. I think Barles is happy to just be in this position. And guys, there was a period in time where Barles had no hand cannons. Now he has more hand cannons than LaaaN does. This dude's on another level right now. And I kind of felt coming into this series is going to be tricky for LaaaN. Barles lost 2-1 versus Ganji, but Barles brought a ridiculous level. One of the highest level sets we've seen so far in TTL Platinum was that Ganji Barles series. And he'll know wins are important. He'll also know that other players may get decent amounts of wins from LaaaN. So if he wins this game, which it looks like he will not want to stop here. He will want this to be a 3-0 for him. Because everyone counts in this format. I feel for LaaaN. You can see the skill, right? He's good enough to get promoted here. And obviously, you know, good enough to hold on at times. But game 1 never really felt like he was in a sweet spot due to some of the early game struggles and not scouting. This game, it felt like Barles he played as safe as possible. And LaaaN never really had high amounts of aggression to be able to break him. And yeah, this is a game that Barles will never lose. Barles is incredible with Byzantines. We'll see another castle coming up right here to protect more of the map. And LaaaN maybe letting frustration seep in now too. Because I'm not seeing a win condition. You want to see a player fight though. His pop is 150. It's not like he's down to 100 right now. But I'm sure he's probably looking at his screen right now. And honestly, you would probably start to think back to even a game that you felt you should have won in the previous series. Like, right now, you're under heavy pressure in the whole format. And you're like, oh, versus freaking Andy, I could have won there. I could have won that as well. Oh, God, why did I pick Franks? All those thoughts creep in. Barles played so clean. And really showed why we see Byzantines picked a lot. And why maybe Franks is a little too one-dimensional, at least against the Byzantines. Barles with more wood and more gold in this game. Didn't actually have as much food, but he was just behind. Res collected is actually pretty close. But Byzantine units are much cheaper. You know, the Imperial Age is cheaper. When you make a defensive structure or a building in general, you get more value from it. There's more HP. There's more vision from the Byzantines. Byzantines couldn't see everything for free. And Barles is looking amazing. Now, I want to show the draft real quick because I think this is extremely relevant. Look at these picks. Okay, so notice where Byzantines comes in. Now, if this is a draft where you only have 3 picks and not 5, and there's no flexibility to it, we probably never see Byzantines. Maybe we do. I don't know. But I think Barles thought about this, and he said, okay, Persians is probably for Coast to Mountain. Lithuanians or Franks is probably for graveyards. This guy wants to go scouts and knights. Instead of maybe going for, I don't know what he was thinking originally, Incas or Malians, maybe I go Biz to counter that. So it was like a late decision, but a smart pick to have on there. It should always make LaaaN guess. And then, you know, for LaaaN now, my big question is he going to go Lithuanians on the next map? Because if not, I think Lithuanians have more options, and I think they have more potential versus the Byzantines than the Franks do. So I think this would look especially bad for LaaaN if he ends up, you know, not going Lithuanians here at all, and that was never part of his plans. Then you just, I think, have to question the decision-making on when you play the civilizations. I've been really impressed with Barles here, and here we are, game number 3. Barles wants that 3-0, guys. It would be huge for him. That'd take him up to 4 wins out of 6 for a player who was 4th place in Platinum in the previous season. But he feels like he belongs in Plat, right? It feels like his level, even when he lost that series versus Ganji, is a Platinum player. But this group is ridiculous. It's only going to get more difficult. Now, I was curious, like, are we going to see Lithuanians here for LaaaN? No, it goes Ethiopians. So, you know, I got to be a little bit more judgmental about the Civ choice in game number 2. And obviously, Barles really happy now. It feels like, man, my Byzantines pick maybe even stronger, because he was not going to play Lithuanians here. He's going to go Ethiopians. I have never seen anyone play Ethiopians on this map. I haven't seen it once in all of Gold and all of Platinum. That does not mean that it's not good, but that tells me either LaaaN prepared something really cool, or LaaaN's like, you know what, screw it, I'm down to let's YOLO archers and hope for the best. If I had to guess, it's probably more of that. Barles, he's going to wall up this little area after shooting these 2 zebras. And that makes it more difficult to cut to the outside to fish, which can be really important. Speaking of, you see Barles now making a move for his little opening in the wood line. You can chop through these reeds. There's only 50 wood per tree. So that seems to be the plan here for Barles. But he should wait for a second Vil to get through there, which might be a little bit awkward because I think this Vil might start walking back, but I'm sure he'll pay attention to it. Didn't even get Loom on the villager, actually. So the fact that this villager could have died to the scout but never did, walked forward, walled this up, killed 2 zebras that LaaaN will probably never take, I think that's pretty impressive. Okay, so this is, I already know what LaaaN is doing here. LaaaN is going for all-in lands with little fish investment. And, oh, he's going to steal the elephant! He's going to steal the elephant! That's huge, actually, because that could delay Barles. And Barles is probably like, crap, my start's been perfect. There's only 1 elephant on the map, guys. LaaaN already took his. Barles now hoping to bring this thing back. This could be a massive win for LaaaN. If he can get this elephant, it will slow Barles down. And Barles now has to block. Let's see. Barles under pressure now. I'm going to go to the elephant's point of view. Now, this is technically Gaia, and you could see right there that LaaaN ran too far. Amazing play from Barles yet again here. Like, round of applause. Like, this guy... Oh, my God, and LaaaN is tilted, and he calls the GG. Oh, no. Stop clapping. Oh, jeez. You just hate to see that, man. You hate to see it. I think you could tell with the Ethiopians pick that LaaaN was just thinking, I'm just going to YOLO. And then there, maybe he's like, well, this gives me my shot. And then he doesn't have it in him today to fight on. And, you know, disappointing series for LaaaN. LaaaN now, he's 0-6 after the first 2 rounds. But almost certainly one of the favorites to be relegated in the group. Still has 3 rounds, guys. But he has to play Hera, he has to play Jordan, and then he has to play Ganji. And Ganji was the player who 2-1'd Barles. So LaaaN is the quality. He's a former top 10 player. He has the quality to get wins against those players. But it's not looking good for him. As for Barles, Barles now has 4 wins out of potential 6. And he's looking pretty good. I really love this strategy. It is a shame, and it is frustrating for me to have to question players' strategic choices to the level that I have. But I think it is only... I think I have only done so because certain players have set the bar so high in terms of prep. Ganji and Barles and, you know, freaking Andy in this group, like, clearly practicing. They're here to stay in Platinum. You had other players who were promoted up from Gold. well, freaking Andy is a good example, but players who promoted up from gold, they feel like that next generation. They clearly came in here having played a lot of practice games on the maps. So we'll see if LaaaN can maybe turn it around in future rounds, but not looking good. Sorry we couldn't get a game from this. I'm not happy we had a player resign there. I don't think the game is over. I still think he's got a shot. Do I think that not having the fish later on is a problem? Yeah. Do I think that Ethiopians still have the potential to get up the feudal age, mass a lot of archers, and make things happen? Also, yeah. The berries, the gold, the stone is forward. This is just a tilt GG. This isn't game over. It's not like he's not going to have the food to go up. But yeah, LaaaN was probably just frustrated and wanted it to be over here. So, GG.